New court documents show the woman responsible for shooting at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel owns a daycare. Happened on Thursday night in Southwest D.C. Investigators say the woman shot her husband inside one of the hotel rooms. Well, she told detectives she owns a daycare in Baltimore and was recently told by parents that her husband was allegedly molesting children. She was arrested and her husband was hospitalized.
The Baltimore County woman charged with shooting her husband over accusations that he molested children at the daycare center she owns will remain in jail in Washington, D.C. This morning, a judge ordered Shantari Weems stay behind bars ahead of her next court date, which is in August. Now, we told you last week that Weems was arrested after shooting James Weems Jr., allegedly, in a hotel room in Washington. Her lawyers say she fired in self-defense when she confronted him about those molestation claims.
An emotional scene outside of the courthouse where friends and family of Shantari Weems comfort each other moments after a judge orders her held without bail. Weems owns a daycare in Baltimore County. She's accused of shooting her husband, James Weems Jr., over allegations he was molesting children there. The violent encounter happened at a luxury hotel in Washington, D.C. last week, where Weems, a retired Baltimore City police officer, was on a work trip on a security detail.
Regardless of whether or not you feel like what she did was justifiable, she was protecting children.
Obviously, she's disappointed.
Her attorney, Tony Garcia, argued she shot her husband in self-defense.
She was emotionally shattered. And then she went down there asking him what happened. He went from 0 to 1,000. He came at her, and she had to defend herself.
The prosecutor alleges Weems never told police she was scared of her husband, and the judge explained the reason she confronted him is not a factor the court considers. Weems, handcuffed and wearing an orange jail jumpsuit, wept inside the courtroom. We did obtain an affidavit from the detective who interviewed her. He described a bloody scene. One bullet went through her husband's neck. Another remains lodged in his thigh. Police say Shantari Weems wrote in a notebook that James Weems is scum. I hope you get beat up in jail. I'm going to paralyze you. And I want these kids to get justice. My only regret is that I didn't put the bullet in your head.
We have breaking news. Shantari Weems is sentenced to 4 years in prison for shooting her husband after learning of allegations of sex abuse involving several children at her daycare. Weems shot her husband James back in July at a D.C. hotel. Her daycare, Little Kids Castle Daycare, is in Owings Mills. James Weems, a retired Baltimore police officer, has also been indicted on several charges, including sexual abuse of a minor, rape, and assault. He is set to stand trial in May.
12-year-old girl who prosecutors say is the victim took the witness stand today. She was 10 at the time of the alleged incidents, and she told jurors Mr. James showed her sexually explicit videos, quote, a lot of times. She also claimed he had her engage in sex acts, quote, a few times. James Weems Jr. is charged with sexual abuse of a minor, second-degree rape, and displaying obscene material to a minor. The former Marine and retired Baltimore City police officer drove the van for his wife's daycare center in Owings Mills. The abuse allegedly took place on the center's playground and inside the transport van. During opening statements, prosecutors said Weems visited a number of pornographic sites, claiming while he was waiting for the kids to pick them up, he is getting himself in the mood. The defense did give this concession. He was using porn and he had somewhat of an addiction. Never once did he give the girl his phone and say, look at this site. The defendant's former wife, Shantari Weems, testified against him. She said when she heard the allegations in July 2022, she was upset and stressed and had lots of questions. She said he seemed calm and had no questions.
Miss Weems did something that she felt was worth it to protect those children. So she's been held accountable. Now it's his turn.
Her attorneys believe the jury should have been given that information.
Yo, what's up, people? We is back. Another day on Keep It G News. And they always in Baltimore City, all the way to D.C., y'all, because we got to talk about a situation that we discussed maybe 2 years ago, because it finally came to a conclusion. And that is the case of Shantari Weems. Now, y'all, this case took social media by storm because you see the details. You're talking about a woman that owned the daycare in Baltimore County, drove to D.C. because she found out that her husband, who was an ex-officer, by the way, was molesting children, y'all. Tragic situation. They locked her up. They gave her no bail. Social media was in an uproar. I felt some type of way because how I looked at it, she was protecting the children. You understand? And in that type of situation where you got a woman that owns a business and her husband's supposed to be helping her with her business, but this same guy who's an ex-officer that's supposed to be helping her with her business actually took the opportunity to take advantage of the children. Y'all, I thought that was bizarre. I thought she shouldn't even got arrested, but we know that's not the world that we living in. So she actually did get arrested. And in this video, I'm going to take y'all to an interview because she actually talked about her thought process and how everything played out and what actually led to her shooting her husband.
The only person I had to find out information from was my husband. And he kept saying he didn't do it.
And you believed him?
I did believe him.
But then, she says, the mother of one of the children, a child she'd loved and cared for years, said they had to talk.
I saw the pain in her face, and I knew that she was not lying. She finally said it was my husband.
You think about that child all the time?
All the time. I think about all the children all the time.
You felt this complete betrayal of trust?
I was totally broken. I felt like the blood had just drained out of my body because, again, this is my husband. I trusted him fully. He was supposed to help me protect these children. He always told me he was my protector. So when I heard this, I just felt like my world had just ended.
She took her first drink in 20 years, and according to prosecutors, texted her business partner, "I'm going to kill him and then myself." She drove to the hotel and angrily confronted him.
I snapped. I'm not a violent person.
You got in the car and drove back to Washington.
Well, I hadn't taken a drink in almost 20 years. When I did drink, I used to drink coolers. So I stopped to the store and got, I think a big bottle of Hennessy or something.
Brandy.
And I was so hurt. I was stressed out for the last few days, and I just was going through so much. I wasn't talking. Even when my center got shut down, I wasn't talking to friends. I wasn't talking to anybody. And I guess I thought going to get something to drink was going to make everything better. And so I went and got something to drink. And then I drove to D.C. But I was driving back to D.C. because I was already staying down there.
And what was going through your head while you were driving down to D.C.?
I was still trying to find an excuse. I still was trying to just figure all of this out. I just figured like it has to be some type of excuse. It just was one of those things that I was just trying to figure out what was going on. My mind was just running all over the place. I didn't know.
But you were texting friends that you were going to do something.
That day I text that I loved them. That day I text them that I loved them.
And did you, and maybe I have my memory wrong, but you alarmed some of the people close to you.
No, it was one text that I did send out. That was the day of the center, and the center was shut down, and I was doing anything that any other person or woman would do, running off emotions, being upset. You know, when we get in an argument, we say things and we are upset, and that's what it was. I was upset because I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I was just left in the dark. It was just running off emotions.
So when you got to the hotel and your husband came back, what happened then?
I came in the room, I sat down, had my pocketbook on my lap. I was working on the laptop, and I had just finished a phone call with customer service. And he came in, and he went to the bathroom, we got to talking, and I think emotions was high. I equated to the situation was kind of like a fire. He was fuel, I was fuel. I was badgering him all week. He's agitated. I'm calling him while he's working. And I think We poured that fuel in the fire and it just blew up. We got to arguing, fussing, and one thing led to another.
How could you bring yourself to pull the trigger on your own husband?
I snapped. I'm not a violent person. I'm not a person that goes around. I've never been in trouble. I'm not a person to go pulling guns out or ready to fight. I'm the one that people call when they get hot-headed and they need me to talk to them and be like, it's not worth it. I snap.
But you didn't shoot him just once. You shot him a second time.
I did.
In the neck? Was it the first shot in the neck? Or
Yes.
The first shot was in the neck?
Yes.
And then you shot him in the leg?
Yes.
So you had to think about it between those two shots, right?
No.
You didn't think about it?
No. Emotions, everything just going all over the place.
And then when the police came to the door, they said, let us in.
Yes.
We need to help. And you said, go away. You don't need to help us. We're okay, right?
Possibly. I don't really quite remember, but I possibly.
The judge made a lot of this issue.
Mm-hmm.
He suggested that you were out to intentionally maim and cause long-term pain to your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you meant to do?
No.
What did you mean to do?
Good question.
You don't know.
I don't know.
And did you think about pointing the gun at yourself too?
Initially, yes. But, you know, I was telling the police to come in and shoot me, and they was telling me, though, that they wouldn't. But I did.
You thought about killing yourself?
I did.
So Santera Weems actually pled guilty, called 4 years, and I think federal prison since it happened in D.C. Y'all know in D.C. everything is federal. If you didn't know, in D.C. everything is federal. This was 2 years ago, so she should probably be on her way home, maybe like in another year and some change. Who knows, but y'all see why she did it. And I ain't gonna lie, I can understand that type of situation now. The judge wasn't trying to hear it. The judge actually gave her more time than the United States government was recommending, because the thought process, you know, she had time to turn back around. She drove from Baltimore to D.C. drunk. You feel me? What it took to kill on her mind, yo. And that's why I just can't blame her, yo. Like, that's a tough situation to be in. With somebody that you trust. Somebody that you thought you was going into business with, and for them to cross you that way, she probably felt betrayed. More than likely, she did feel betrayed. But this video ain't even all the way about her, you know. But I just wanted to take y'all through her story so y'all can know where we at today. Because like I said, this is an ex-officer, y'all. Ex-Baltimore City police officer that did this to these children. And y'all heard the child testify to some of the things that he did. A lot of the things that he did happened in the car. You know, maybe he had some type of sex. I don't know. I think it's unexcusable. But everybody was wondering what's going to happen to James Weems, you know. His wife caught 4 years. But he was facing 33 counts. And he went to court a couple days ago and they gave him life in prison.
The big story today, life in prison. That is the sentence for a former Baltimore police officer convicted of sexual abuse at his ex-wife's daycare. You may remember this story as James Weems Jr. has been behind bars since his conviction last year. This for abusing a child at Little Kids Castle Daycare in Owings Mills. Back in March, the parent of the victim filed a civil lawsuit to hold Weems financially accountable. His ex-wife, Shantira Young, also in prison for shooting Weems after she learned about that abuse.
Yo, this is an unfortunate situation, yo, especially for Santera Weems and the children that was involved in this. You know, for somebody that's supposed to be an officer, that's supposed to carry themselves with some level of integrity, to pull a move like this on children, yo, is insane. And I think life in prison is deserved. And y'all heard how Santera Weems spoke about what she thought needed to happen to him. And I agree. You know, child predators don't last in prison. They don't last. And you talking about an ex-police officer turned child predator. So he gonna have a rough way to go, and he deserve it, man, for the pain that he inflicted on these children, for the trauma that he inflicted on these children. Yo, he was out of line. Like, I swear, I think it's some type of sickness, yo, because I can't wrap my mind around some of the things that these people do when it's involving children, and how can they allow it to get to that point. Like, it's insane to me. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. Like I said, life in prison, I think, is justified. Santima Williams, who caught 4 years, she should be home relatively within the next 2 years, year and a half, maybe a year max. Probably come home with some type of home confinement or some type of halfway house. I don't think she should have been arrested at all, but we understand the law, and she did break the law. And she did have intent with what she did. But salute to her. You know, you make decisions. Sometimes you got to stand on it. Look like she's standing on it. But let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's another day of Keep It G News, and I'm out.